Welcome everyone to the Yurejian Family Studio at CivilNet. I'm joined today by Diana Sarumova, Executive Director at the European Business Association in Armenia. Diana and her team work to support Armenian businesses, facilitate economic cooperation between Armenia and the European Union, and encourage foreign investment in Armenia. Diana, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for your invitation.
Absolutely. To start, what else can you add about the European Business Association? I understand that you also work alongside the Armenian government to advise on legislation and other matters. So generally, what can you tell us about what you do?
So European Business Association was founded in 2015. And our main objective is to improve business environment and investment climate in Armenia. We are part of the global network. We have more than 50 EBOs all over the world. We name ourselves European Business Organization, worldwide network. In some countries, it is European Business Chamber. In some countries, it's European Business Association. It can be European Business Council. We're all independent. In Armenia, we are registered legal entity, NGO. And however, we are cooperating with each other and being coordinated by European Commission, DG GROW in Brussels, and where we're meeting every year to exchange our experience, knowledge, to support each other. Our main work is to support European investors in third countries, but we're also working with all other representatives of private sector. Like, you know, Armenian market is really small, so we don't have a lot of European investors here. We're working particularly mainly for European businesses, but we're also covering other foreign investors, multinational companies and local companies as well, because we understand that our main goal is to have improved business environment for everyone. And here, our main work is to collect all those issues that the private sector have in Armenia and to work together with government, together with our partner institutions, key stakeholders, to make things better, to make lives of businessmen easier and to make them feel protected and safe and to bring more investments to Armenia. We're also trying to connect Armenian businesses with European one to support them to find new partners, new clients, distributors. We are inviting delegations from different European countries, as well as we are bringing Armenian companies to Europe. Like a good example was recently conducted project together with some European chambers. We invited 10 producers of Armenian biofood. And we are trying to support them to find clients, partners in Europe. So this is in brief what we're doing.
Well, that's great. And you brought up a few points I wanted to ask about further. So I'll start with, I'm wondering how, in your view, Armenia's business environment has changed in the past few years. I understand you've been working with the European Business Association since 2016, if I have that right. So I'm wondering, you know, you're kind of in the driver's seat for these changes. What have you seen changed? And also, what still needs to be done?
Oh, it's a very long topic, actually. But in general, yes, lots of things, they have changed. I think it was improved a lot. Okay, a part of COVID, war, which it's separate, you know. But in general, for business representatives, I think it became easier, better. We since the beginning of 2016, we were working on main issues that that time we collected from private sector, and they were talking that time mainly about tax, customs, competition, public procurement, judicial system, you know. Now they are speaking more about stability. Some of them, they say, we are ready to pay more taxes, but we need stability. And we're not talking only about political stability, but economical, you know, stability in the region. People, they are tired of all these challenges that we're passing through. You know, it's very challenging time for everyone. So we hope that we can overcome these two in the upcoming period of time. But in general, I think it became better, of course. But again, it's very relatively, you know. So whenever you are starting collecting information, some people say that it's worse. Some people say it's much better. Some people say that before it was bad, but it was stable bad. Now it's bad and no any stability. So it depends on what kind of business you are doing and who are you and what is your expectation. Nowadays, it's a little bit tricky to answer this question.
I understand. I also wanted to touch on the point you mentioned about Armenia having such a small market. So because of that, I think that a lot of businesses in Armenia are looking more and more to export into other markets to kind of supplement those demands. And so I'm curious, again, in your view, what the main challenges and opportunities are for Armenian companies that are already exporting to the EU or are considering doing so. What do you hear from your partners?
So the main challenge, or one of main challenges nowadays is volume and quality. So as European Business Association, we're also trying to help companies to meet those requirements, to get, certificates, licenses. The process is a little bit long, but as soon as you get it, you are becoming part of a developed market with a stable partners. It's another world, working with European companies. It's another culture and even this exchange of doing business culture is extremely important for us. So we're supporting companies to do it. So if we speak about volume, let's say, that Armenian producers, sometimes they cannot meet requirements of big supermarkets in Europe. But what we do and what we suggest and what many of Armenian companies they are doing, they are just finding their target segments to work with them. It's not necessary to work with huge hypermarkets, but you can find your niche. Let's say if we take bio food or organic food, that demand is pretty high there. So you can just work with bio supermarket. It's very relevant nowadays. There are many green supermarkets, green shops in Europe. And to meet those requirements and to be able to sell there. There is another challenge that I would like to emphasize is pricing. Sometimes for Armenian producers, it's very difficult to compete, let's say, with the same Turkish products. When you go to European supermarkets, you will see dried fruits. So I think Armenian producers, they need a little bit support, also governments, maybe subsidies or some other supports, trainings. Many things could be done to support producers here. Also language. Some producers, they don't really know English, French, or German. So here we can also be a little bit more active and cooperate also with educational institutions. So maybe also provide some other kinds of trainings and supports, because when you have language barrier, it becomes a little bit more difficult for business. Anyway, there are lots of opportunities to do business with European countries. Besides, nowadays, it's very easy, lots of things to do online, like communication with your partners, exchange of information, organizing some meetings. So it also makes things easier.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to circle back also about what you said about language, because I think that there's a space here for the diaspora. So if you think about Armenians in France who speak the language and, as you said, know the business environment, or the big Armenian community in the United States. So I'm curious, in your view, should the Armenian government encourage more diaspora investment and involvement in the Armenian economy, and if so, how?
It's a very good and important question. I wouldn't say that government should do, because diaspora is kind of independent, something independent body that shouldn't be dependent on government or somebody's words or encouragement. They can do everything themselves. And people that are living here, like, we also have to support diaspora, and diaspora is kind of our black gold, our main investment, which we can use more actively here in Armenia. How is a very difficult question. I was thinking about it for several years. I myself was, and I'm still working very closely with representatives of diaspora. Each representative finds his own way how to work. But as I see, the best way is to work targeted. When you know people, when you know projects that you are going to support or invest or implement. And of course, the best way is to come to Armenia, to see by your own eyes what's going on here, to feel it, and to make decisions right on place. And of course, to work with people that you trust. This is the most important part. And in parallel, to create this field of trust yourself, to change people's mindset and mentality of people. This is extremely important. I would say it's the most important part whenever we're speaking about education, business, and all other segments.
Yeah, it's all down to mentality, right?
Yeah, mentality and trust.
Well, I wanted to ask you too about the challenges and opportunities for women business owners in Armenia. I understand you have prior experience working in banking and financing here. And so if you don't mind sharing, I was wondering what your experience has been like as a woman in a male-dominated industry, and again, how you see things changing.
It's changed a lot. Like if you compare 15 years ago when I was working in banking, it was preliminary lending sector. I was providing huge financing to hydropower plant financing or agriculture financing. Women became more active, and we in the scope of EBA were also trying to inspire them to support women to feel more active, protected, etc. I wouldn't say it's challenging in Armenia. Telling the truth, I never met something, discrimination or things like myself. But I hear very often that women, even if we take banking sector, right now, if I'm not mistaken, there is only one woman CEO in banking sector. So managers are mainly men, but work is being done by women. And we don't complain about it. The most challenging thing is to balance family and work, because Armenian men, they are not used to support, their wives in housekeeping. But again, things are changing. There are lots of my friends and relatives and acquaintances that they support their wives. They do some cleaning and they are taking care of their kids. So again, it's changing. But we need to do a lot still in Armenia to support women a little bit, because it's difficult when you have, let's say, small kids and you have to go work and you have to cook after the work. So it should be balanced somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Diana, thank you again very much for joining us today. It was a pleasure.
It was my pleasure too. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Absolutely. And please keep in touch in the future.
With great pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on CivilNet.